fellow humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you the low-quality content you deserve, and today we will finally be going over Tellarknights, which is a deck I haven't updated in a while. So it's pretty simple why I didn't. 2024 I barely played, but even then, this might arguably be one of the only reasons. So even though I had a version of this deck playable without it, and even though you can still kind of do that, the problem is with rank 4s, there was this serious lack of payoff after a certain point in time, and it needed something to, like, pivot all the resources into, and there just wasn't a lot like that for rank 4s at a time. Like, even if you went like Diamond and Infinity, that wasn't really that great of an inboard. A lot of the time, what I would do is try to go for Batlamus and Diamond to just have a bunch of negates. But that was, again, it was like a series of mid-range decks. And as we got to 2024, where like one-card combo decks became really degenerate, like, and it didn't stand up. And so the next best thing was to pivot into a really broken payoff, but then Circular got banned. But then we got Ryziel, and unfortunately Ryziel just has a lot of issues with the deck, and I'll bring it up later. But it was not a good payoff in the same way that Circular was. So this deck just kind of felt like really dead in the water for a while, but then, look who's back, Circular. So I'll get into it, and I'll explain like how this deck actually works, and why Circular is like such a real part of this deck list, and not just like some kind of combo YouTube throw-in whatever. So if you look at this deck, and I said Tellarknights, but there are so few of them, and they're just like random one-ofs. That will make sense in a moment, but ultimately I can just get out of the way now. You are cycling through the vast majority of them with Deltaros. That is what you're really trying to do. So let's get into it. We got 3 Sakitama, 3 Lirin, 1 Altair, 1 Deneb, 1 Vega, 1 Sirius, 1 Unukalai, 3 Alteran, 1 Sheraton, and 1 Caduceus. This is basically the Tellarknight package. I'll put these down there, because they are ultimately just extenders and not really engine pieces. So these 10 cards make up the entirety of the Tellarknight monsters, and then just like 3 Skybridge, 1 Skybridge, 3 Constellar Tellarknights. So basically, they're just like, this is a small package. Because the way this deck actually operates is it's not about like, oh, you need to see these names, you're trying to see this and that. You are trying to make one whole rank 4. And this entire deck operates the moment you do. It is kind of fascinating in that sense. So this is why there's like a lot of goop in here, and why it can feel a little weird looking at this. But like, if you draw Sakitama and like the worst Tellarknight name to draw, Sirius, that is full combo. Like, that is the kind of deck we're working with here. Anyways, now that we got these done, we got the Mathmech package, which is one of each of the ones that are not terrible if you're playing a deck not Mathmech. Circular and Diameter are obvious, but once you get past those exact 2 names, all the other ones are just not meaningful at all. And because of that, like, you can't see enough names with that package normally, so the third one is Nabla, which is only purpose is it can tribute a Cyberse, especially summon a Mathmech from deck. Basically, you tribute itself to get the third name in circulation. So if you circular dump Nabla, and then you go into Alimbertian, you can get this out with Alimbertian to revive it, and this will tag into the Diameter, and that can make the rest of your plays. That's simply what you're going for, and you can get to this, and then all 3 names to make Trish and negate your opponent. And then Fenrir with Rise Heart. So, all 4 of these, well, technically, these 3 are a way to make a level 4 that special summons itself, which is effectively Sakitama, which is effectively half of all your combos. But in addition to that, you have a floating Fenrir, so pretty solid. Also, one thing I've noticed about Yu-Gi-Oh! Players is they're really good at saying, oh, put a lot of non-engine in your deck, but when you can have a, quote, non-engine that actually facilitates your engine, that's better than just it being non-engine. I think people like to throw 20 non-synergetic cards in their deck and wonder why they keep breaking. But because this card can be a go second card and an starter extender, that is very powerful. So yeah, it's just really strong that it's both whenever it needs to be. And then Sakitama, which is just a level 4 that I want to say special summons itself, but it literally does just normal summon itself. Then we got Constellar Tellarknights. Even though there's only like 10 names this can summon, It is the best card in the deck list. Every time I see, like, this deck, someone doesn't have 3, and I cannot fathom it. This deck is exclusively dependent on making a rank 4, so you maximize the number of ways you can make a rank 4 turn 1. Yeah, that's not debatable. Signet Mining, it is a way to get to Circular, because Circular is just a level 4 that special summons itself to get your plays started. And then 1 Skybridge, it can tag a Teller name into a different name. It can let you dodge, like, Valor, Imperm. But a lot of the times, because you don't have a lot going on, it is just kind of like a simple tag. And you can use it as a trap if you go to summon Alteran. And then we got Armored XYZ. This is for the combo. Then we got Raceoffs, which is just another copy of Fenrir, which makes it another engine that dips into non-engine, etc., etc. Rhoda. Most of your guys are an army, so that's cool. And then Super Factorial, which is another engine requirement that is Trishula, and then an Omni-Negate to back it up. And then some hand traps. The ones that actually matter are, 1, Droll, for a thing I'll show in a moment. And then, so what I said earlier about it's really good to have a non-engine that can be used as engine. This is hilariously one of them. Because if you look right here, you can count them 1, 2, 3, 4. There are so many hands that are playable by just Fulos being a level 4 normal summon. When I said all this deck needs to do is put 2 level 4s on board, I am not joking. That's probably the reason this can be in the main deck without a single issue, because it is a level 4. Like, if you wanted to cut, like, one of the lesser hand traps for some of the other Charmies, I would also recommend that, because not only are they really powerful Max C alternatives, they are also level 4. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's go into the extra. And this extra deck, I will say, is actually 16 cards. Ladies and Durandal are basically interchangeable. Durandal, which I'll explain into Droll. So, the most toxic application Tolmaeus has, people think, is, oh, you turn skip. That never happens. We are playing a game where your turn 1 is going to get hand trapped at least twice, and Tolmaeus to turn skip requires your opponent to have 0 of them. So that just never actually happens. A lot of the ways you start playing, like with their random Fenrir and like just random level 4s, don't even allow you to set it up. So the situations where it can happen are very low, and even when they can, you don't do them anyway, because if your opponent just randomly tosses the weakest hand trap in existence, you probably no longer have access to the combo and then lose. So you just never do that. And a lot of the time, the threat of you being able to do this might force your opponent to hold the hand trap for Tolmaeus, even though the reality is you're never setting it up, and by the time they realize, oh, you're not going for that, you've already established enough that it's too late, which is, yeah. So, regardless, the whole thing I wanted to explain with this is the real toxic application is if you can make Tolmaeus with Droll, because if you go Durandal Droll, that is just Droll reincarnation lock. They go to make a searcher, draw a card, you chain Durandal to shuffle everyone's hand, then you chain Droll, they lose their hand, and then the game ends because their 0 cards are going to get disrupted with, like, Infinity and Laplacian. Like, it's over. It was already kind of over, and now it's definitely over. It is so over, guys. So that is one application, but Durandal, besides that, is just the world's most mediocre semi-Omni-Negate, if you can even call it that. But the other way around is this could also be Pallades. So Pallades has, like, the tiniest bit more synergy with the deck and is a tiny bit more powerful. For example, Concealer Tellarknights and grind games, you can just trade an XC into Pallades and then have a disruption on, like, follow-ups. Because this deck is really bad about having turns where it cannot make a real attack, and your opponent just takes no damage, so those are real game states. Pallades, like, helps with those kind of game states, and in addition, if we're being totally honest, it's a slightly better disruption than Durandal because it's, like, much more consistent in its applications. But the real reason you would interchange those, because while Durandal is slightly weaker, this is a broken interaction. Pallades is much better when you have Alteran in circulation, because then on your opponent's turn, you can trade a Tolmaeus into Pallades. It will be its bounce whenever, but it's also going to make sure that Alteran comes back, and that's at least, like, 2 pops. And it's definitely good in conjunction with, like, Laplacian, because then you can go Laplacian, like trish your opponent for multiple cards, and then whatever's left you clean up with Alteran, especially against like trap decks. They're just over at that point. So that's something to keep in mind with his extra deck, is these two are interchangeable. That's all that long-winded statement was about. Then we got 2 Caduceus. Like I said, this deck can lose by the fact that it just cannot make real attacks for a series of turns. So you kind of have to give some concessions in your deck list, which is why there's 2 of these in here, so you can play a grind game if needed. Tolmaya, some combos do use both, so that's important. Batlamis, the combos that don't use both will go into Batlamis into Diamond. Deltaros is the heart of the deck, where your combo is about sending Deltaros from the field to the graveyard multiple times to summon each name as possible of Tellarknights from your deck to get each of their effects. So you'll, like, Deneb get a search, Vega summon the search from your hand, Unukalai dump an Alteran, and then in some combos where you've seen 5 Tellarknight names, you'll shuffle back all of them, including Deltaros, and that allows the second Tolmaias to be online, otherwise it wouldn't. That's why there's, like, a variation between Batlamis and Tolmaias here, because sometimes, like, you won't have the Tellarknight name and extra to use Tolmaias properly, and then you can just use it that way. So, yeah, and then M7, it's, like, one of the things about this package is there's so many extra deck slots that are actually 2 extra deck slots for 1 extra deck monster. M7 is an example of this. You'll turn Caduceus into M7, and that allows Constellar Tellarknights to turn it into Deltaros. Otherwise, you'd have to make it a different rank. But this allows that to actually work. Then the Mathmech cards, Alan-Bershan and Laplacian. Alan-Bershan's pretty cool because if you start with Mathmechs, like sometimes if you have like a combination of Cynet mining and like one of the two, like you get to Circular and Diameter, you will summon Circular, Diameter, and have 3 level 4s. You'll get your Super Factorial, of course. But with the 3 level 4s, you can actually search Sakitama, and that's a level 4 that's just going to summon itself, and then the Alan-Bershan can summon back one of the Mathmechs, and then you get to Tellarknight package, and we'll have the Super Factorial no matter what goes wrong, so that's pretty cool. Other engine requirements, Armored XYZ Fortress and the full whatever. These two just make it to where Deltaros is used 3 times instead of 1, so that's pretty cool. Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity, these are an Omni Negate you can make with Tolmaias, which is good if you can summon it early into hand traps. The only problem with it is, again, like 2 extra deck slots for what is ultimately 1 extra deck monster, which that is one problem with this deck list that I'm not sure if there's an easy solution to, but there are so many slots in this deck that are absolutely nothing except a stepping stone into 1 extra deck monster, which is unfortunate, but it still operates as intended. So in the side deck isn't actually a side deck, it's just an example and things I wanted to talk about, like Pallades. Trevair, you rarely ever get to summon this, which is why it's not in the extra deck. It is very powerful, but like once you use it going second, it's like a dead end. The only thing you can do is rip a card out of hand and make Diamond, and that's just not that powerful. Like, Diamond is a crazy card, but the circumstances of Trevair are like, you were able to break the go second board, but you couldn't follow it up with a lot, so it needs a very specific situation where your opponent's board was not powerful enough. It was powerful enough to Trevair, but not powerful enough to stop Trevair, nor powerful enough to require you to use non-Tellarknights at all. So it's just like, the situations where it comes up are just not real. Genesis is like a side deck card you could actually side because it's searchable with Lyran, and then it's just like a pseudo-searchable Feather Duster that's a quick effect, which is a powerful statement to say, because it even triggers off Tellarknight cards, so even like your continuous spells staying up makes it matter. Now the Ryziels. This is something that I wanted to explain earlier. The reason Ryziels were not a great payoff to this deck is because the interactions were back heavy with Ryziels, as in, one of the cool things about Mathmech is when you play this package exactly, they're just level 4s, and they don't have any restriction besides the attack restriction, which is an effect this deck already repeats on multiple occasions, so it like didn't really matter. But the problem with Ryziels is the moment you use a Ryziel, like half this extra deck just disappears. So they were only good if you got hand trapped and like had no other plays, but then they made those other plays not super relevant. Like, it was trying to get to Detonator, which at that point you're just playing Ryziel, and it would be worse than the sum of its parts. So what you ultimately ended up doing with the Ryziel monsters is you wanted to full combo then, like, your last rank 4 would be Duo Drive to get stuff for Detonator. And it just didn't feel that powerful. I don't think it solved a single issue this deck was having. Even though, like, it gave it a more genuine payoff towards the end of the combo, it just wasn't relevant enough. And these cards couldn't act as real extenders, which was the biggest pain. Even though, like, Circular's at 1 and its Searcher's so bad, it was still better than, like, every Ryziel monster. So it getting banned made the payoff super weak. But regardless of that, there's an argument that you could still play these cards in the deck. You would just, like, be a lot more mindful of how you did it, and you would maybe not even play, like, that much of any of it. You would just play X Ryziel, a name for it to search, and then, like, Duo Drive, Aggregator, and Detonator. Don't overcomplicate it. Just use it for its exact functionality, and then you use X for the boards that are just, like, too much to handle. Like, if none of your plays could get through, you kind of force something with X Ryziel. That was the, that's like an idea you could have, which wouldn't be the worst call in the world. Like, there's definitely a world where I could see myself having a Ryziel package in this deck, but as it currently stands, it's already 43 of the tightest cards in the extra deck, and, like, so this extra deck is like 20 cards, and I'm only allowed to play 15 of them. But that's it for the deck list. I think I'm going to show off some combos and then some replays. Now, it might not look the part, but this hand is full combo, and it's like full combo through your first XE getting hand trapped, which is hilarious. Now, something I will say, normally when you see Droll and Lock in your opening hand, you respect this fact and try to go for Durandal if you decide to play it. I'm going to see if I can make it matter. If not, then it's still Droll and Lockbird, I guess. So we are going to normal summon Nabla, and then reveal Sakitama, normal summon it, and then we will go into Caduceus. We'll go ahead and detach, and when we do, we will banish Sheraton. Now, this is like a perfect place to hand trap this deck. This is, I mean, objectively speaking, this is correct. But because we already have this, it just doesn't matter. So we'll even say we just get Impermed here. We'll go ahead and activate Tenseller, whatever. We will turn the Caduceus into M7. Then we will turn that into Deltaros. Then we will activate Deltaros to pop itself. That will get our first Tellarknight name out of the deck, which is always Altier, which we will then summon back Deltaros. So if you ever draw Altier and, like, have to use it for the first XE, it makes this combo very awkward. I think there's still ways to play around it, but that is, like, one of the only times where you can just draw an engine requirement and be in trouble. So next we are going to go towards Fortress, which we will summon in the EMC, because we need 3 open monster zones at the end of this combo, and that will allow us to get Armored XYZ, which we'll go ahead and activate and put on Armored Fortress. So Deltaros is going to be attached, and then we're going to XZ over it for this guy, and that will cause the Deltaros to fall off to get the next name, which will almost always be Deneb, unless you started with Deneb. And Deneb will get us a name we want to see, so we will get Unukalai, because we don't have enough. Actually, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we just won't have enough names to Sirius. So that means only one of our Toll Minuses will be online. So this can go ahead and get back our Armored XYZ. So we will go ahead and do that. And we will go ahead and attach it to Deneb. We will overlay these two, and we're going to start with our Mathmech engine. Deltaros is going to fall off. It's going to activate as Chainlink 1, Deltaros Chainlink 2, which will get Vega, which will get Unukalai, and that will get Circular. And Circular will go ahead, because we've already seen, we've seen one of the names, I'm forgetting its name for some reason, Nabla, we'll just go ahead and dump. Then we'll tribute this to go ahead and just revive any name, which we will get Diameter. And then Unukalai is also going to dump, what's it called here? Alteran. So, next we can, let's see here. So we also get our Search with Circular, which is going to be the Super Factorial. Next, we can overlay these 3 And that will make Tolmaeus. Tolmaeus is a Tellarknight, which means we can summon back Alteran. These two will go ahead and make Batlamus. These two will go ahead. This will go ahead and make Durandal. We could have been slightly more efficient, but not super relevant. Then we'll go ahead and detach, and then this will make Diamond. And the only reason I'm even doing Durandal here, again, is because of Joel. If not, we would have made a different line. And because we did get to see Alan Bershin, there was an argument that this is like the argument why you would say you'd go for Pallades over it because of interactions like this. But regardless, we will go ahead and set Super Factorial in our turn. So we have a pseudo Omni-Negate in Durandal, or the reality of the situation, a complete hand rip. Diamond to back it up, and then Super Factorial to back it up as well. So it's kind of a devastating line of play if you see Troll. But regardless, this is only one of the combo. There's one other I want to show off, and here. Now there's another hand that's full combo. So what you do is you start with Deneb. We will go ahead and search Sirius. So this combo, the only difference between it and the last one is this is what happens when you see at least one Tellarknight name. We actually seen two, which is interesting. So we will go ahead and overlay these two into this. And again, in the same situation, when you have this and this already, it means this getting hand trap just doesn't matter. So we will go ahead this time actually demonstrate you getting to the main deck Caduceus, banishing this, and this will search us another Constellar Tellarknights for the following turn. Then we can go M7, turn it into Deltaros. And then what we'll actually do is summon Alteran back, then just pop the Deltaros that way because memes. And that will get us Altair, which again will get us Deltaros. And let's see how many names we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're going to do, probably not quite yet. We are going to quick into Cyber Dragon Infinity, just to have like Omni Negation early. I think that's the correct call here. And then we will turn... Well, actually, hold on. Yeah, this is fine. So we'll turn this into this, get our Armored XYZ, and then we can equip it to Armored Fortress, and then rank it up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we have all 5 names. So Deltaros is going to trigger one last time. Which I guess now thinking about it probably was a little greedy or reverse greedy to summon Infinity here early because I am going to lose out on some names. So we will go ahead, get summon Vega, summon Sirius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we will shuffle these all back and get a draw. That's not a bad one. And then just go into full Mathmech combo. As you can see, the only different... No, I think this is pretty much the same setup. Like, we can also get Armored XYZ back if for follow-up. So we'll just full Mathmech combo. Yeah, basically you know where this is going. You got 3 hand traps to back up what is ultimately a pretty solid inboard. But what I didn't get to show off... So we'll go ahead and cycle very quickly through the Mathmech stuff. We'll say this is Engrave. Circular, oh, you got your Super Factorial, how cool and awesome. And then when you're done... Oh, nope, that's the wrong way. You'll go into your second Tolmaeus. So Diameter is under it. And the reason going serious here was important is because if you didn't do that, there are some lines where you do have a spare diamond, so it doesn't matter. But in this situation, you've got to put the Deltaros back so you have something for Tolmaeus. So in phase... We'll go ahead and attach Deltaros, which we will then immediately detach for either Diamond or Durandal. We'll just say Durandal. This will be set. This will be set as well. And then, like, we have this pseudo Omni Negate, an actual Omni Negate, and then Super Factorial backed up by 3 hand traps. Like, that's kind of what you're looking for serious lines. Plus, you get to see a new card in this circulation. And personally, you probably should have held on to Infinity for maybe like a few steps later, because then you're losing out on, like, I think a few resources. But regardless, this is still the end board, which is a lot. That's kind of what I wanted to show off with this deck. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. not much I can say about it. I'm just kind of glad I got this deck like back to some level of functionality, because it's really cool, like a rank 4 puke deck. I mean, that's what a perfectly ordinary Tellarknights have been a staple of my channel well before the new support, so it's always nice to see them like back in action. But that's gonna be it for me. Thank you all for watching, and remember, master never flex. We'll take your soul.